right, so episode 2 of Moon Knight premiered early this morning, or late last night, depending on what coast you're on or where you're at in the world. I took a look at it this morning. I woke up very early before my shift, and I watched it. I'll just say right off the bat, I thought it was a fantastic episode. I thought Oscar Isaac was somehow even better this week, getting to do even more of the acting against not only a physical Oscar Isaac in Reflections, but just vocally getting to act against himself even more in this episode, as well as F. Murray Abraham, who speaks more in his head, and you actually see, this is full spoilers, by the way, and you actually see Khonshu physically a lot more in this episode. But for me, and then I'll toss to you, the single greatest thing in this episode was the kind of philosophical conversation between Steven and Ethan Hawke's character, Harrow, about, kind of the, predeterminism and, a lot of the, Minority Report stuff of, well, isn't it just as bad if you're punishing people before they commit a crime? Because what if they don't even do it?
Right.
I thought that was the... and then just the acting in that scene of you see that, to us, well, yeah, Steven is making a lot of good points, but you see, Ethan Hawke's character is just getting more and more frustrated, as he's talking. I just love that scene a lot. But what did you think of it? Oh, and also the introduction of Lila, his Mark's wife, I thought was a really good addition.
Yeah, I completely agree. I thought this episode was great. I thought it was better. I think I like it more than the first one.
Mr. Knight.
Mr. Knight, yep. I love seeing more Khonshu. I liked hearing more of F. Murray Abraham's great voice kind of in his head. I liked more of the Steven Mark battle between the two. Yeah. Steven kind of saying, I got this. All right.
Yeah.
All right, Mark, we don't need you every time. And he just does it more just because, he doesn't want him to take control of his body. Not saying that he could, because I think I know, inside he knows, he can't take
he's not
on.
as good a fighter as
right,
Mark,
he's not good as a fighter. But yeah, I loved all that. I laughed too. I thought the "Fly Like a Bird, Sting Like a Bee" and "My Name's Steven" without a V or with a V. I laughed at that.
Yeah.
I thought that was really funny.
No, that was great.
And it is kind of goofy, but I thought it was
and I
funny.
get that people are I wouldn't say people are pissed, but I get that people are well, that's not what Mr. Knight is.
Right. I didn't, because I didn't know what he was.
Well, props to us. Our prediction was totally right.
What did we say?
We were like because they're changing so much from the comics. We both said I wouldn't be surprised if
he's
Steven,
just his version.
Yeah, if Mr. Knight just is Steven's version of Moon Knight.
Which I like. I didn't know that he was kind of this. I heard him described as this as the Bruce Wayne kind of, where he's not. He's kind of cool. He's not like this,
in the comics. Steven is. He's very much like that. And then Mr. Knight is totally separate from Steven. Is if you just had the detective portion of Batman.
And I think at that point you're kind of juggling a lot of personalities, or it's we have Mr. Knight, and then we have Moon Knight, and then we have Mark, and then we have Steve. It's okay,
and I like too that they're all well, actually we did get a little sense that maybe they aren't. I was just gonna say that, Mark to Moon Knight are still, that difference, even though physically Mark becomes Moon Knight and then physically Steven becomes Mr. Knight, it just seems like their personality, amped up. You know what I mean? Amped up on adrenaline or whatever. Whereas even in the comics, Mark becomes Moon Knight, but Moon Knight is his own identity, totally separate from Mark. Whereas this one felt almost more and I'm not saying this is a bad thing. I think I agree with what you're saying, that for a show like this, you have to kind of simplify it more, and you can get a little more complex later on, I feel. But this one is well, it's just Steven in a suit.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I did like how when Mr. Knight when he starts fighting the another one of the jackals, which I like that we got like confirmation that they're invisible to
I
everyone else.
still think the CGI not the best. But that's like kind of my only.
See, I feel like it's just,
Only with
I feel
that,
like it's
like-
fine.
Like I think Conchu looks good,
yeah,
but like the Jackal I think look kind of
yeah.
iffy.
But I will say I think the problem still is just they just have to spend it on what they
Right.
feel like they really need to.
Mhm.
And like, yeah, did the Jackal look perfectly photorealistic?
No.
But I'll tell you what did look incredible is straight out of the comic books, Moon Knight sprinting across rooftops and then
Oh,
that
yeah.
jump with the cape and everything. And we know from the
From
trailer
the Disney Plus thing.
yeah, exactly. The Disney Plus logo jump from the trailer. But we know from that trailer that like we're gonna get more awesome cape action later on in the series. But we finally got our like first taste of the suit kind of in motion, because really in the first episode we only get it for one scene, and it's just, you know, he's just punching somebody and then he just walks towards camera. So getting to see the suit actually in like motion and in like fluid motion, I thought was great.
I was also happy to know that the suit is a thing that people see.
Yeah, because we weren't too sure on that, because
Right.
it could kind of go either way. But
Because well, like I think Lola, right? That's her name. Lila.
Layla.
Layla.
Yeah.
Layla's like, oh, suit up.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay, like people see that he's in a suit, because
Yeah.
you know we weren't sure at the time, and even when he sees him on the security camera in the beginning, I was like, oh, is the suit not visible to anybody?
Yeah, that's what I was.
But then I
thinking.
was like, oh, he probably just
Yeah. But then, like,
undid it
of
when
course,
he
what
walked
are
out.
the chances that this guy has like a 26 monitor setup? You're telling me not?
Yeah.
You're telling me that the closest? I get you can't have a. I get that you can't have a. Oh my god, you can't have a camera inside the bathroom.
Right.
But you're
Right
telling me,
outside
You're
the
telling me the
bathroom.
closest that they
Yeah.
could get was like the hallway outside.
Yeah.
Because you see, you know, the Jackal
Mm-hmm.
or whatever, and you see Moon Knight in the hallway, like, but whatever.
I do also like that the Jackal is not. It's not like I thought it might be where it's like a normal person. It's just like they move their hand and there's like nothing.
Yeah,
But, like,
it's
it's
a
just
physical
invisible.
being. It's
Yeah,
just
it's
invisible.
physical, it's just
yeah, because
invisible.
when Layla when she like throws the sand and the dust
right.
on it,
Yeah.
and then you can kind of like see it. Yeah, I thought that was really, really good. And then I love also too, as dark as this show has been, the comedy too was just fantastic. I mean, like you said, the like you know, float like a butterfly, sting like a bee.
Oh, is it butterfly? I said bird.
Oh no, yeah.
Okay.
It's like the float like a butterfly, sting like a bee, and my name's Steven with a V. Like
Yeah.
that was great. But then also when he's fighting the Jackal as Mr. Knight,
Yeah.
and then it cuts to the wide shot of him just like fighting nothing, and you
Right,
hear the
yeah.
old lady at the restaurant go, "Oh dear, I think he's having an episode or
Yeah.
something, or like he's having a fit.
He's
or
a
something."
drunk or something.
Yeah,
like
like
that, I
whatever
think is
she
what they
said. I
said.
thought that was so funny because it's like you're in this like intense action scene, and then you just cut to the wide shot, and he's just like swinging at nothing.
Right.
And I really like to that, you know, there was no like, oh, you know, Steven being like, oh my god, I feel, you know, the power, you know, it's
Yeah.
you know, the power, it's surging, like, you know, there was none of that. It was just like he got scared, grabbed the car, and then you realize that he crushed the bumper and took it off in his hand.
Right.
And you just see that Steven looks at his hand, looks at the bumper, drops it, and like you understand everything right there. Like there was
Right.
no need for like, you know, what's happening to me? And Mark
Right.
going, your senses are doubled. Your strength
Right.
is that of a, you know, abnormally, or that of a perfect spec.
Yeah.
Like there was none of that. It was just like he now has the same powers that Moon Knight has. He's just in a different form.
Yeah. Now, I do have two questions for you that I kind of want you to think about and get your take on. One, is Khonshu a good guy? Because he's kind of forcing Mark to do his bidding with the threat of that.
Yeah, I mean, he straight up threatened him.
He'll go and possess. Looks great. Possess. What's her name again? Sorry,
Layla.
Layla. And
I want to double check that. 'Cause
my second question is, do we know the origin of, like, who's the real person? Do you know what I mean? And maybe because you have multiple personalities, there's not really one real personality.
Mm-hmm.
But like, who's the
Yeah, it's Layla.
who's the real kind of person? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, physically, in the comics at least, I feel like there's totally room in this show
Right.
for it to upend itself.
Right.
Like, because, you know, so many, like, in the comics, Mark is the actual person. Like,
Right.
Mark, it's, person was born Mark Spector, like, that whole thing. But I feel like the show is doing all this interesting stuff where they're like, oh, it's so cool that, like, the show is actually, you know, mainly driven by, like, Steven's perspective, at least for now. But I feel like an interesting thing would be a reveal that, no, in this version, Steven is the real one. And Mark is the split. I think that would be interesting.
Right, because like the way I'm asking questions in my head is like, when did one of these personalities become a problem? You know what I mean? Because like we have Mark as a mercenary, right? We have that background knowledge now, which is that's pulled straight from the comics, right? Like he's a mercenary.
Yeah.
And his whole death and how he kind of is resurrected. But what? And I think it's maybe just when the show starts, because obviously he's been having this problem before. But like, tell me when like this started. You know what I mean? Because like,
I think just then. I think just in the first episode.
right? Because like, I'm just trying to get like a timeline. And
What's I'm trying to remember the first episode. What is the like inciting incident?
I mean, he just wakes up from the dream, or he's having the dream. When
Oh yeah, I guess that's just what we don't know yet. Is that was the inciting incident was when Steven woke up in the field.
right.
That was it.
Oh, and he's like, you're supposed to be asleep.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Oh, he's like, oh, this guy woke up.
Yeah,
Great.
I feel like
yeah.
if Khonshu hadn't have said anything, and he just like Mark could have like wrestled control back or something. But yeah, I guess that's
Yeah.
when. That's
I
when
think it's
it
just
did
'cause-
something.
Because it's kind of hard, because it's really difficult to pinpoint, because obviously Mark was married to this, Layla.
But then who asked out the girl at the museum?
It was Mark, I'm assuming.
But if he's married.
But they were trying to get a divorce, so that's why that's why I'm putting it together. I know it's kind of,
yeah, but I mean, no, yes, you're absolutely right. But I mean, the divorce was only to like get her out of the danger of life. So I wouldn't
Right.
really like see him just like asking someone out.
right. But like, see, like that's where it is kind of confusing to me, where it's like, okay, Mark Spector has this passport, and obviously with this kind of disorder, I think you have gaps in your memory and time and stuff like that. But like, I really am interested to see like when, because I just think it's hard where it's like, he died, but then like how he's been having this other personality kind of tucked away back in his head somewhere, and then it kind of comes to fruition all of a sudden. But like, I just wish I had like a timeline from start to finish. Like, okay, all this happened to lead up to here. That's what I think I want. I
feel
want
like-
more background knowledge.
Well, I feel like we're gonna get it too because I feel like we're still in store for the episode that will give us Mark's perspective on things. Because when Steven wakes up in the field, in the trailer, you see in the trailer Oscar, who we didn't know at the time, but you see in the trailer Oscar Isaac falling onto the field.
Oh, okay.
So I'm assuming that we're at least going to get a portion of an episode or an entire episode going back and giving us Mark's perspective to fill in those things. But I think equally likely, because we know that from, a lot of the press, any of the press that got the screeners, they got the first 4 episodes because the
Right.
creators and everybody were like, oh yeah, episode 4 is really where it, twists
yeah.
on itself, basically. I still think that there's a great chance that either a lot of what we're seeing isn't even happening at all,
Oh, jeez.
or that because the one person that has been missing in all of this is Jake Crowley, the third personality. I think we could equally likely get a reveal
God.
that there has been a third one the whole time
Yeah.
that neither Mark or Steven know about.
Know about, yeah.
Something like that. I think that's totally possible.
Oh boy,
But yeah,
that's a lot.
yeah,
What do you think about you? You liked Ethan Hawke in this episode?
yeah. I thought he was fantastic.
I agree.
Yeah.
I see a lot of people saying like he should have been doing comic book stuff a long time ago. It's like he didn't want to.
Yeah, he's made that clear.
Yeah, like you said, he was not about comic book like movies and stuff. Like
Yeah. But yeah, I think he's fantastic, and I love what they're doing with the character. That is just totally a, you know, a patchwork quilt of different elements from the comics, different people from the comics, just kind of mashed into one. Like, I think that's fantastic. Like, because it's like, think about how liberal they're being with the interpretation of Moon Knight.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't think anybody is gonna see that and then be like, well, why isn't his villain perfectly accurate? You know what I mean? It's like, I really think that that's interesting because, you know, like people said, like Arthur Harrow in the comics was just more of like a ruthless, like, you know, billionaire, like pharmaceutical guy. Like, they, you know, like it's totally different with this, but then it's bringing in a lot of the like Egyptian gods and mythology and stuff to this, which I think is fantastic. And I really am excited to see where we go next episode, because this episode obviously ends with Ethan Hawke having the what is it, the scarab? Yeah, having the scarab. I keep wanting to say scarif, like Rogue One. Having the scarab, and we find out that the scarab is in fact a compass, like it's like a golden snitch, like it's like a compass leading to Amit's tomb.
Mm-hmm.
And then so Ethan Hawke is heading over to that, and then we end the episode with, well, we don't really know who wakes up,
Right.
but one of the personalities waking up in Cairo with like a bottle in their hand.
I also thought that was interesting that Ethan Hawke used to be Khonshu's avatar.
Yeah,
That was an interesting little.
he used to be Moon Knight,
Yeah, I mean, well, he called himself something different.
the
though,
Fist
didn't
of Vengeance or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. Which in the comics, Moon Knight is called the Fist of Khonshu.
he? Oh,
So
really?
so they just like changed it.
Changed it?
Yeah, but I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it was like, I'm sure like past Moon, you know, just like Steven becomes Mr. Knight. I'm sure it's like every recipient that is the avatar probably has a slightly
Yeah,
different.
I wonder if we'll get a little bit more too on that relationship between
yeah,
Ethan
we have a
Hawke's,
flashback. Yeah,
Ethan Hawke and Khonshu's kind
I
of
like that.
relationship.
Actually, you just saying that reminded me. I liked when they, obviously I already said I liked the Steven and Harrow stuff in this episode, but I liked how many times before you find out that he used to be Khonshu's avatar, how Khonshu would say something and then he would be like, is he saying, you know, that you should kill me?
Yeah.
And he's like, you know, you don't have to listen to it. Like, and I thought that was cool too, that like who we assume at this point is the villain of the series, like, you know, actually giving like good advice to the hero, being
Right.
like, you know, like when Khonshu kind of has his little like freak out when he originally started talking to Harrow, and you know, all the like plastic sheets on like the scaffolding and stuff move in the wind and stuff, and like Ethan Hawke's hair and Steven's like, oh, and he's like, it's okay, he's like, that's all he can do to you if you don't give him any control. Like, you know, he's like literally he can't touch you.
Right.
As long, like, it's just your own fear. Like, and that was like actual good advice. So it's like, I don't know, it almost like, and obviously, you know, at this point, Ethan Hawke isn't like a maniacal, you know, evil person. It's just like he has a very firm religious and like societal views, I guess you would call it, like, and then takes it to the extreme of like that like ceremony or whatever with the scales. But it's like you kind of said, Khonshu is on the side of, like he says, you know, I serve justice to those who deserve
it. Yeah.
Whereas Harrow is, you know, he just, it's like Minority Report, like Harrow just serves justice, you know, to an outsider however he feels, but you know, to him it's like, well, it's not however I feel, it's, you know, it's, he believes that it's Amit telling him which way it goes. And I just think that that's so interesting that it almost might come down to, like, at the end, Harrow having like a crisis where he maybe realizes that like if Ahmed ends up being the villain,
Yeah.
then maybe he's been serving, this, terrible thing that he didn't think was, and it might be a nice full circle moment for the first episode when he tells Steven that, Ahmed was betrayed by her avatar. Maybe he is on a path to betray her again and, take himself out and Ahmed or something for the greater good or something. Just because I don't know if it's just because he's so charming, but it's like he takes care of his people. He does do that weird thing where, like, he might murder you. But, like, other than that, he's like...
Like that guy that picks up the scarab and he goes, give me that, and then he takes from him and then he kills him.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, oh, okay.
That was a little over the top, yeah. But, like, I think the door is still open to kind of, not him be redeemed, but him kind of be like, realize the error of his ways and then, either, like, sacrifice himself to take out Ahmed or something. And like I said, I don't know if that's just because he's so, like, Ethan Hawke's just so good and, like, charming in the I almost said the movie, in the show, or if it's, the actual character, but he just doesn't strike me yet as, like, a purely evil guy. Mm-hmm. And Khonshu is very much like, well, we have to kill him. We can't let him get anything. We can't. And it's almost like kind of what you were saying, like, well, what does Khonshu have to hide?
It's kind of like the thing with, like, Thanos, where Thanos, like, he doesn't want to like rule the world per se. He wants to save humanity in his view by wiping out half the population. Whereas, like, he wants to save people from dying from the hands of these people that he thinks are going to do these terrible things. So I think it's kind of that cool way where it's, like you said, like at the end, maybe they have a crisis of conscience and they're like, oh, what you like this guy, the thing that's controlling me or that I'm serving wants to take over the world. Like, oh, well, like, what am I doing now? Like,
yeah, exactly.
That is really interesting. I'm excited to see what that looks like. What that like it looks like a crocodile. What does it look like? A crocodile or an alligator
we've
or something?
seen Khonshu, but we haven't seen Ahmed yet in any form. But yeah, I think that'll be super.
What else can his cane do? Just summon?
I don't know. I'm sure at the very least he can summon probably like anything from the underworld or whatever that is. I mean, I don't think that's like an alien portal. Like, I think that was like genuinely our first look at something like genuinely supernatural was because even the Moon Knight suit, like, we've seen things like that happen before, but him literally opening a hole in the ground and then like a demon climbing out of it, like that to me strikes me as like truly the first supernatural elements that we've seen in the MCU. Also, by the way, as much as that one writer said, we're completely separate or the producer was like, we're completely separate from the MCU, and everyone was like, Moon Knight's not in the MCU. We did get our first overt thing with on the bus that he turns into Moon Knight next to, there's a GRC banner, like the Global Repatriation Council from Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Oh, okay.
So, whatever that one producer said aside, it is definitely set in the MCU.
It's on Disney Plus. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. Like, because he was like, he meant like tonally and like story wise when he was like, it's set very much apart from the rest of the MCU, and then people were like, Moon Knight not in the MCU, and it's like, that's not what he said. Probably was a better way to phrase that, but that's not what he said. But interestingly, Oscar Isaac is not signed on to any like multi-picture or multi-thing. So
probably after Star Wars, he's probably like, I don't want to do that again.
Yeah, that's what he said. He said that he didn't want to jump into anything, and he said that he talked to Kevin and he was like, if I'm going down like this kind of a road again, I want it to very much be something that I want to do and something that I can not control but have my say in, basically. And that's, I think, it kind of was led to so much of the creative freedom that Oscar Isaac and Ethan Hawke have been talking about. So yeah, that's awesome. I mean, and like you said, like yeah, I'm sure he didn't want to sign on for multiple stuff. Like he called it like the golden handcuffs. Like he was like, he was like, as much as I love money, I don't want the golden handcuffs of Marvel on me. But I'm sure after the success of this and how much creative freedom really he had, I'm sure he's gonna be back. I mean, no, I shouldn't even say that. He is 100% going to be back, but I wouldn't be surprised if he probably comes back for maybe one other thing, and then once the character is super popular, they'll offer him like, they'll be like, what about $40 million for five roles? Okay, I can do that. But also, I mean, honestly, at that point, I don't think he would say no to it in the case of he's got so much say in the character.
I also think it comes down to I think this character's probably way more planned out than any of those Star Wars movies were. Or his character in those movies.
And not only that, but think about how many times he either in the beginning hinted at, by the time of Rise of Skywalker, just fully like he was very actively pushing to have Poe be like either bi or gay or like a member of the LGBT.
Oh, they're gonna
community.
say like just he's done like.
Oh well, yeah,
Poe.
yeah, but he was very vocal towards the end, like that he was unhappy with where the character went, just like a lot of people in that trilogy. But I feel like it's refreshing to him because it's like it's this guy who, oh, I love Apocalypse. I'm gonna get to play Apocalypse, and then you're like, how about 110 pounds of latex and rubber and one of the worst written villains in a franchise that typically has good villains, I would say, with the X-Men. So I'm sorry, I'm sure he was probably burnt out on that, and then of course Star Wars being burnt out on that. So I feel like it's gonna take him some time, but I feel like he'll be like, wow, okay, this is truly a more free and open experience type of thing. Or maybe we'll find out that all of it was just press talk and that he hates playing the character or something.
Maybe.
But
the way Ethan Hawke talks about him going up to him at that coffee shop and saying like, "Oh, I'm working on this thing," like, seemed like he was really into it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, that'll give him more time to play Solid Snake if that movie happens.
He said, "We're working on it. We're climbing
we're,
around.
We're searching for a story."
Yeah.
Oh boy. Okay. Well, I think you could bet on that movie's not coming out anytime soon. What would your star rating be for the episode?
I can't remember what I gave the last.
I think I gave 4. I think I gave it 4, maybe 4.5. Yeah, it was definitely in the 4. It was definitely 4 to 5.
Yeah, I'd give this like a 4.5. Like I think it was. I think it was better than last. Not by much, but I thought I was, and I don't mean like, oh, it was so much better than last week. I thought it would be lucky if this episode was as good as last week, because I think it had such a strong opening. But yeah, I think it was a little bit better. And like I said, I really enjoyed this episode, and I really enjoyed where it ended to lead us into whatever the next episode might be, because we see him wake up in Cairo. Like, I think he's like shirtless and has like a whiskey bottle in his hand and stuff. And to me, that doesn't strike me as Mark or Steven. Right. So we might be getting Jake Crowley or I keep saying Jake Crowley. That Crowley is the name of the gold statue guy. I can't remember what Jake's last name is.
Who I heard could be some comic book character that is like his friend or
Crowley.
Something. Oh,
that's his name. I keep saying Jake Crowley, but that's not what it is. Hang on. I'll look it up because it's killing me. But what do you think? Do you think that there is some sort of a third personality, or do you think that who do you think we saw wake up at the end of the episode?
I think it could be, but I hesitant to think like that we added, because it's usually 3, right?
Yeah.
So
it's always 3.
It's
always 3, if not more. But
yeah, I think it'd be interesting to throw another one in there, but I don't know if it's like too soon. But I agree with you that I don't think that looks like either of those. It doesn't look like Mark or Steven.
Yeah.
With the drinking, at least, because Steven's a vegan. And he doesn't strike me as a drinker. And Mark, I don't know. He seems like He seems like he could be, if he was down on his luck, he could be a drinker or something like that. Like, not like, heavy drinker, just like he could drink. He'd have a drink or two.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, maybe this is like a third one. And if there is a third one, then does he have a Moon Knight persona?
Mark Spector identities. Can't find it on the freaking wiki page.
Maybe you made it up.
Yeah, I got Stephen Grant. Thank you. Oh, Jake Lockley. That's what it is. Not Jake Crowley. Jake Lockley. Yeah, so I think it's possible, but like what you just said, yeah, I think with Steven being a vegan and, I don't think that Mark would be like drinking away his problems or whatever. He seems very like man of action, like he's going to go out and fix stuff, not just like, wake up and like not that we know that he's drunk or anything, but like wake up with a bottle in his hand type of thing. So I think it could go either way. Either way, I'm really, really looking forward to it. But let us know, what do you guys think? What did you think of episode 2 of Moon Knight? Where do you think the show is going to go? Are you excited to continue with the show? Yeah, let us know everything, all your thoughts on Moon Knight down below.